what's up, everybody? My name is Scott. This is a video called the SpoilerCast, episode 16, 17, maybe 15. Not entirely sure the numbers of the videos because I don't check beforehand. So, basically, what is the SpoilerCast? Now, well, that's a good question. Of course, the SpoilerCast is a series of videos where I will spoil games and talk about them because that's really fun, you know, doing that sort of thing. It's a good old time. So I'm gonna spoil this game. It's Life is Strange. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. Because it's a little bit of a different game. It's got episodes, so I might go through it episode by episode, talk about big moments that happened, you know, and we'll eventually get to the ending. So if you want to get out, you should probably leave now. You're gone. Well, you know, you're not gone, viewer. So as you can see, this is a game set in the wilderness of Oregon in the United States. And basically, there is a girl, and then there's another girl called Chloe. So there's a girl called Max, and there's a girl called Chloe. And basically, Max can control time, Chloe can't. And so that causes some problems, I guess, throughout their relationship. This is Max. She's talking about her path. This is episode 1. And basically, episode 1 is not a lot happens. She gets her powers. She finds out that her friend basically gets killed, Chloe, and then she stops her from getting killed. Her powers activate, and then that's the biggest spoiler, I guess, in the first episode. So this is the ending. We come up here, we have a nice time. Also, Max, she sees a tornado that is about to destroy the town in a vision, and because of that, bad shit is gonna happen, I guess. So I suppose this is sort of how it ends. You know, I can get photos. I'm playing it in collectible mode right now because I'm trying to do that. And I don't know if I can rewind that, maybe, because there was that bird there. I don't know if this is the bird that I need to take a photo of. It might be. I think it probably is, because why else would I be able to rewind it? I don't know. You know what, we're just going to play. You know, we're not even going to bother trying. So, first episode starts off. We have a nice time. We rewind time. We have the vision of the tornado. You know, and not many things happen. It's sort of an introductory chapter, of course, as most first episodes of things are. We get to see sort of a nice tone for the game. You know, it's set in the wilderness. It's set on the coastline here. There's some cliffs and trees, and there's some graffiti. I don't think this is ever explained. This little glyph here. She mentions a glyph, but she never explains it. I don't know why. I don't know why it's there, why it's so important. So we're gonna sit down. We're gonna speak to Chloe. We're gonna sit down. And I think I'll talk about episode 2 now, because this is sort of where things kind of really get going. I'm gonna say that I'm sorry because I'm a nice girl. So basically, there's a thing that happens in the first episode where Chloe smokes some weed. Girl with the blue hair smokes some weed. Stepdad comes in, hits her in the face because she smoked weed. Max didn't do anything, and everybody seems to bring this problem up. See, this is what we're talking about now. This is okay because this is sort of the aftermath of this event. She's just been hit. Max is getting the blame for it, I guess, because she didn't help her. You know? So, yeah, they bring it up now, but then they bring it up in like episode 3 and 4. They're like, well, I wish you would have stopped Chloe from getting hit, Max. That's what Chloe's mum says at one point. I'm like, fuck you, mum. Why can't I just stay in the closet? If I went out of the closet, Chloe might have got in more trouble because I wasn't meant to be there. So that's an issue that I had. That's an issue that I had with the game at that point. But episode 2 ended, of course, with a girl who was being bullied, and she was going to kill herself by jumping off the roof of the school. And her name is Kate, and of course this is bad. And Max was going up there to help her, and you think, okay, that might be good because Max has rewind powers. She may be able to stop somebody jumping off a building. She might be able to do that, but no, her powers weren't working at that point. And it was quite an interesting sort of scenario, I suppose, where basically we didn't have our power, so we needed to use, I guess, the verbal way of communicating, which is usually kind of the only way of communicating unless you're writing something down. So yeah, there was that moment, and it felt like sort of genuine danger at that point, and I would assume that if I had messed it up, she would have died, because the choices in this seem to be quite important. And I think it would have been interesting if she did die, but she didn't. And there was one moment where I had to read a correct Bible verse to the girl to make her stop jumping because she was religious, and then she would respond correctly to a Bible verse. And I remember having to look that up. I looked up the Bible verse and I was like, okay, this one seems to be really nice. This one seems to be about horrible demons, so I probably don't want to say that to a suicidal girl. Yeah, so that was quite an interesting moment where I was sort of really trying to save somebody, but the odds were really very much against me, but I managed to come out on top, and it's pretty satisfying that I was able to do that. After that event, we go to the principal's office, because obviously suicide in the school during the day is a big event, and the principal wants to talk to people about it. And the principal has a teacher, like the head of security, another guy, and then Max in there, and everybody's telling him information, and then the principal's like, well, I think we now have less information now than when we started. And I'm like, bullshit, teacher, principal man. You've had 4 statements provided to you about this event. You certainly know everything about it. So I think there is an issue with the sensibilities of the writing, because that clearly was not a sensible thing to say, because it wasn't true. Clearly he had enough information to go on to understand what was going on. A girl was trying to commit suicide because she was being bullied, she was being pressured by teachers, she was being pressured by the security staff. You know, a lot of this was going around, and I don't understand why the principal didn't know what was happening. It didn't really make much sense to me. But I think that's just a general issue with the game. As you may have been, I'm not really paying attention to what they're saying here. You may have been listening or paying attention to the subtitles. They say things that are really cliched and teenager-ish, kind of cringe-worthy things a lot of the time, like shit pit, for example. Would you like to drop a bomb and turn it into glass? That's the kind of thing that these people say. They say hella a lot. You know, they're very much teenagers. We're gonna see the vision now. She had about the tornado. Well, maybe not, because it's collectible mode. Okay then. Well, I guess. Sure, let's do this. I'm playing collectible mode again. Sure, we'll do that again. So, we start episode 3, I think. And we find out that David Madsen, who is Chloe's stepfather, the man who hit her in the face and who was pressuring Kate, the girl who was going to commit suicide, we find out, of course, that he is a man who has been spying on these girls, and he has lots of files on them, which is a bit interesting. You know, it's quite creepy. He's quite a creepy guy, but I like that they made him the good guy in the end. He was the one that actually solved the crime of the missing girls, of course, because a missing girl is sort of the main plot device in the game. Rachel Amber is a girl who's missing, and nobody really knows why. Chloe is sort of intertwined with her. Chloe, I think, had feelings for her, and she goes missing, and it's sort of like the overarching plot. It's sort of the thing that joins all the episodes together, which is interesting enough. And you know, basically, this is sort of going into episode 5 spoilers. We might disregard the whole episode by episode thing, because I don't think I can really talk about each and every little detail that happens. But basically, who's emailing me? I'm getting a message from Nathan's father. Nathan's father is not a polite man. It's not a very nice thing to say. So, yeah, Rachel Amber, and it turns out that one of your teachers, Mr. Jefferson, who is your photography teacher. I'm going to ignore Warren. I'm going to go take the bus. Oh, I know, I need to talk to him. So, Mr. Jefferson, your photography teacher, turns out you think it's this guy Nathan, who's a real psychopath in the school. You think he's been kidnapping the girls, but it turns out that he's actually been working for Mr. Jefferson. And there's kind of a lot of murky things going on with Mr. Jefferson. Mr. Jefferson has basically been kidnapping girls. He's been taking their photos while they're either in clothes or in not clothes. So he's doing both. He's not really, there's nothing sort of rapish. Well, kidnapping women and taking photos of them is kind of rapish, but he doesn't actually do anything as far as we know. So he was framing Nathan. He's been taking the women, taking their photos, and his reason for taking the photos is because he wants to capture in his photos the transition between innocence and corruption, which is a pretty messed up thing for a teacher to want to do to children in his class, and he's taking these horrible photos of them, and he's trying to capture this thing, which is kind of twisted. I know that's an interesting motivation, shows, an intertwining of the photography theme in the game, and also the theme of growing up and being in a school in general, I suppose, in that we're going to go back to the main menu now, great, in that in a school, you're kind of losing your innocence, as you grow up, I guess. We'll go to episode 5, and this will show you this guy doing what he does. But yeah, so it's an interesting sort of overarching theme which comes about, and so this man kidnapped Rachel Amber, took her photos, killed her, framed the boy Nathan, but there was kind of a murkiness. I feel like it was a cool twist that it was the teacher all along that was kidnapping these girls. It was kind of interesting, but I feel like they were kind of forcing it upon us and didn't really have a good explanation as to why it was him, because all signs really did point towards Nathan, the teenager who's got a rich dad. He had all the supplies to do this, and also he had the influence. His father had influence in the police and stuff, so these crimes could be easily covered up if it was Nathan that was doing it. But no, it was actually Mr. Jefferson, the teacher. And sort of the explanation is that Mr. Jefferson was getting the money and drugs from Nathan because Nathan wanted to be his protege, and there was a sort of father-son thing going on there. Like, Nathan's father didn't give him enough attention, and so Mr. Jefferson was taking him as his protege, which is interesting, but it feels kind of forced in a way. I mean, it doesn't feel necessarily a genuine sort of conclusion to the game. It's kind of like, okay, we need to get a twist for episode 5 or episode 4. What are we going to do? Okay, well, we could make it somebody who didn't seem like they were a bad guy. We're going to make him a bad guy. He's doing this stuff. He's putting a girl in some chairs, putting a girl in chairs, and then tying her hands up, and then putting lights on her. I didn't know you could actually put someone in chairs. You could put someone on a chair, but this guy's actually putting someone in a chair. So this is his little sort of dungeon that he has, and he drugs the girls and he ties them up in chairs, puts butterfly moth t-shirts on them and takes their photos, which is pretty fucked up. And it's a cool ending to the game, I think. And so at this point, you're able to reverse time a lot. One of the things that you do is, like, you get one of the photos over there, and then you eventually get the ability to reverse time by going into photos and changing the events that happen in the photos, which is kind of interesting. Makes it a little bit more kind of, I don't know, I guess large is the way I would describe it. It makes the plot a little bit more worldly, I suppose, instead of just confining it to these very short bursts of time travel. It makes it a little bit more overarching in terms of the world, and kind of that messes up the world at some point, and that eventually she goes into sort of space where time is really distorted, Yeah, so nothing is as it seems when she looks into these photos. It's just kind of interesting. It's kind of like in the photos you're sort of almost like PT, the horror game slash demo that came out. Like you're walking into the same corridor and it's sort of like a puzzle and you need to work out what's happening and there are giant squirrels and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting. So it's kind of the last episode of the last few episodes really play up the time travel aspect a lot more than the original one. So we're going into this photo now. She doesn't look very healthy in this photo. She's got a cool wristband on, which I like. I mean, it looks a bit like a tin can has been kind of wrapped around her hand, but you know, they are teenagers and their fashion is foreign to me. You know, I guess we weren't going to see the end of the episode because I'm doing it in collectible mode, so I'm idiotic, but that's all right. We can just go on to that, I guess, and watch that. I guess I should have just hit play, and I could have just played the whole episode, but you know what, I'm going to do it this way because I prefer complication. So this is Mr. Jefferson. He's being a creepy man. He's taking photos of this girl, of course, who's able to go back in time in photos, and there's one moment in the transition between episode 3 and 4 where she goes into a photograph, changes time. What she does in that is she changes Chloe's past, I guess, in that she saves her dad from dying, thinking that it will make Chloe's life better, but when she goes to Chloe's house in this new reality that she's created, Chloe is severely disabled. She's in a wheelchair, she was in a car accident, she can't move, she's got respiratory failure, she's not doing very well, so Max is not very good at doing things sometimes. She's hurting Mr. Jefferson's feelings constantly. She's hurt Chloe in this other reality. So that was a pretty big twist, and I really didn't know how they were going to be able to get out of that, but I thought that the way that they dealt with it, they kind of used the first half of episode 4 to deal with this whole different reality where Chloe was disabled, and then there was another photo where Max went back in time and then re-killed her father, so the present would be not fucked up again. So everything would be back to normal in the present and we can continue on with the adventure. They didn't sort of dwell on the past too much, or that the other reality, they didn't dwell on it for very long, and I thought that was good because I would have probably been frustrated that we weren't getting back to the actual plot, which is, you know, Rachel Amber disappearing, you know, the tornado in the present, the creepy David Madsen taking photos of girls, Kate and her suicidal tendencies, Mr. Jefferson being a creepy photography teacher. We didn't spend too much time away from those things, which I really appreciated, because I thought it was going to go off in a weird direction after that, and I thought we were going to be stuck in that reality, but luckily they changed it, so that was pretty good. So one thing I don't understand about Mr. Jefferson is that he likes to take these photos very expertly, of course, but he seems to just be clicking away, constantly clicking the camera. You know, you think that he would take a few more seconds to sort of realize the shot before he would take it, but there we go. I guess you can't really trust psychopaths in any way. I don't think that's something that you can definitely do for certain. So what do we want to talk about now? I talked about Chloe and the weed, how everybody kept bringing it up and annoying me. I talked about Kate. Oh yeah, in episode 3, you break into the school, okay? You break into the school, you search in the principal's files for information about Rachel Amber, who's this girl that's gone missing. So you break into the school, you get out of the school successfully without anybody catching you, without any alarms going off, and then you know what you decide to do? You decide to go and take a swim in the school swimming pool, which, in my opinion, is an idiotic thing to do. If you break into a school, you do not need to break into another building to go swimming just to have a fun time. Maybe that's how it is in Oregon. Maybe that's how it is in America. I'm not really sure. Maybe that's how 18-year-old girls do it over there. They're like, well, we've just committed a crime, so let's commit another crime and then get naked and wet. That actually sounds like quite a good time, actually, but a little bit idiotic considering the circumstances. So that bothered me a little bit, despite the fact that it didn't bother me for a few seconds there, but I've come to my senses again. But overall, let's end on a happier note. But you know, let's leave the horrible torture dungeon, and we'll finish on a nice note. In terms of characters and stuff, really liked Max as a protagonist, even though, as I said before, most, if not all of the characters in this game are really cliched in some way or another. You know, the way that they speak, the way that they act, you know, they make references to pop culture, you know, sort of hipster bands, hipster culture. The music is really awesome in it, you know, so the music that I like isn't necessarily bad, but I think that they sway a little bit too much towards cliche. But this is a good song. I haven't looked it up, but I think it's Jose Gonzalez who sings the song, and he does the song Heartbeats, which you may know, which is a pretty good song too. So I enjoy the music in it, I enjoy the characters despite their cliched faults. Max is a good protagonist, Chloe is great, they're great together. Oh, of course, I haven't spoken about the ending, which I will talk about now. I think I really fucked up on the ending. I picked the bad ending. Yeah, it's a nice diner. It's got wheels. 2 wheels diner. Big wheel, baby wheel, yellow wheel, blue wheel. I want to walk across the road, but it won't let me. Is that a man over there, or is that some sort of silhouette? That's weird. Oh, they look like cardboard cutouts. They're really kind of creepy. That's very strange. Oh, guess they're in a different reality as well. So yeah, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the ending. So the ending, basically the tornado, we're standing up at the lighthouse down there, of course you can see. We're standing at the lighthouse, and the tornado's about to rip through the town, and so the options are, go back in time, let Chloe get killed by the guy who's going to shoot her at the beginning, so that you never activate your time travel powers, so then the tornado will never arrive to destroy the town, because the tornado is somehow intertwined with the time travel, because Max has messed up reality, something like that is happening. So you have the option to go back, kill Chloe, you never get the time powers, the tornado never happens, everybody in the town is safe, but Chloe will die. Your other choice is to leave Chloe alive, don't go back in time, and then everybody in the town will supposedly die, which is the choice that I made. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad choice, it's the selfish choice, for sure. It's like from The Last of Us when Joel, spoilers for The Last of Us. If you haven't played it, you're never going to play it. Spoilers for The Last of Us. Joel does the selfish thing in that he lets Ellie be saved. He saves Ellie. He doesn't let her die because he loves Ellie and he wants to hold on to Ellie, right? And this is what I did because I didn't want Chloe to die, because I thought that Chloe and Max were good together. I thought they were having a good time. They were doing some night swimming. They were doing some school breaking in. And I enjoyed all of those things that they did. Chloe's mom owns this diner. Chloe comes in here sometimes, sits down, has a burger, has a pancake. I didn't want any of the pancake burger good stuff to disappear, so I let Chloe live, and the town was destroyed. The problem with that scenario, I'm gonna go back outside again, just for the hell of it. That music's bothering me. I wish I could just push this guy off his bike and then reverse time, and then he will be right back on his bike again. Oh no, there's another person on a bike. There's a lot of bike people around this place. So I chose that ending, and I was happy with it because I didn't want Chloe to die, and I wanted Max and Chloe to be friends or to be together. I didn't want Max to lose Chloe because that would have been really bad, you know. But the problem was that we didn't get to see what happened with anybody else in the town. It ended with Chloe and Max driving in a car through the destroyed remains of the town. And we didn't get to see if the rest of their friends were alive. We didn't get to see if Chloe's mom was alive. We didn't get to see if anybody from their school was alive, their classmates. They just sort of ended with Chloe and Max together, which I guess is sort of the choice that we made, I suppose, in a way, that it's like I chose to keep Chloe alive, and so the only thing that I kind of valued from that choice was Chloe and Max's relationship, which is an interesting way of looking at it. It's sort of like, okay, I wanted them to be together, so that was the ending that I got, where they were solely together. But I still would have liked some closure for some of the extra characters. You know, I think that would have been nice. It would, like, even if I saw them dead, I at least would like to know, because the tornado came through, the town was destroyed, but I don't know if any of them are alive or dead. Some of them might have survived the tornado, some of them might not. You know, it would have been nice to see if that happened. But overall, great game, great atmosphere, great voice acting, despite the cliches, great visuals. It's kind of like a Telltale game, only the engine in this game works and the visuals don't look like a child drew them inside a washing machine, which is something that I appreciate. So I'll leave you with Max's face here. This is the SpoilerCast, episode 15, somewhere between 15 and 17, possibly 18. Not entirely sure. I'll leave you with that. She's got a nice shirt on. There's a deer on it. She's got some cool bracelets. Keep hipping on hopping to your local bracelet shop. Tell them I sent you. You'll get 15% off. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.